Good afternoon, Ted. Welcome. Thank you ever so much for joining us online. And over to you. Thank you.
Well, there's no stopping us, is there? We can't meet together. At least now we've got this technology, which I hate. But hello to tree folk, because I know it's just not arborists there today, and it's people that just love trees. And that's, if you like, what I've been about all my life. And I thought, well, the best way to do it was to just, at 92, you're allowed a lot of freedom. And that freedom is a mixture of God knows what's going to come out today. But these were some of the notes that I made originally when when I started. And that was what you can see here. I was very, very concerned about the rubbish put out about local provenance. And there he is, 2 years old, in Windsor Park, always oak trees, and that started me off. And I've never been a professional forester or arborist or anything, just a simple person interested in old trees. And I put this one in just to get the local provenance out of the way, because here's a load of rubbish. Because this is a bird that comes from Scandinavia in the spring. Oh, comes to our country in the autumn, full of berries, and distributes them. And then when he goes home, he takes our berries back to where it comes from. So that's got local provenance out of the way, I hope. And I've got to dedicate really a lot of my life to this man. This is Frans Vera in Holland, and he's demonstrating here a young oak sapling being protected by junipers. And that's how oak started it. But his question always was, where do you see oak generating successfully under other trees? And that has led the way for many, many of us that have followed him as his disciple, sir. Yeah. And that's Franz Vera's vision of a lot of Europe. Open grown trees, in this case, this old oak's been hacked about, wild cows, nice flower rich meadows, bushes with leaves on, all the rest of it, but a typical scene. It wasn't dense, dark forest, totally. Yes, and this isn't the right lecture because we didn't get the Scott Spine on. So, sorry, folks, we haven't got the real talk up. And it's anyway, I'm going to have to skim that and come back to it. But this is what, based on Franz Vera, thought of our oak tree. Look at it, a huge open grown oak with plenty of space, plenty of light, producing fruit. And I came across a lovely quote of a boy, teenage boy, that said that every leaf was a solar panel. And here we're looking at a giant solar panel, incredibly rich in everything. Yep. And I came up with this phrase soon after I got interested in old trees. And it should say an oak tree grows for 300 years, rests for 300 years, and spends the next 300 years gracefully expiring. The man that wrote that, I haven't got his name, but it was in fact 300 years ago he observed that. So perhaps the first arborist to go out and look at how trees grow. And that's of course is mine. And the days of snow. There's people in the audience I know have never seen snow. But here we go. We got it regularly in the old days, and that was a tree near my home. It's still there. It's probably lost a few twigs, gained a few twigs, but virtually unchanged. That from Britain, really said UK. Britain, stating the obvious. It's been the biodiversity of an open grown tree. So we can say that. What's it?
Do you want to talk about tree ecology?
Yeah, thank you. You need people around you at my age. What's happened is in all those years that we've been, if you like, pushing on at the open grown tree and the old oaks, it soon became apparent that we were at variance with most so-called tree ecologists because they'd all been trained by good scientists, and hopefully one of them might be in the audience, but they've been trained in the woodland tree. So you meet ecologists today and they'll say they're woodland ecologists. They are not arboriculturists, and they don't see the open grown tree, which of course we do. And there you go, that's just showing you the fungi. But they're incredibly rich. It's the open grown tree. And Kevin, who's in the audience, is actually heading up on our book, which is going to be an introduction to the ecology of the open grown tree. And that's going to rattle a few cages, I'll tell you. Thank you. So this should have been the first picture. It's a Scots pine. It's massive. It's open grown, and it's experienced in its lifetime, because we know in this area in Scotland they really do suffer. I don't know if we should call it something, but they do experience incredibly high winds on a regular basis. So arborists in the audience will look at this and say, that tree has experienced all those winds. And as far as I know today, it's only dropped one limb. So any person in the audience that's Scottish should be proud of that tree. It should be your emblem. You can't use the open grown tree because the AA, Harbour Association, have used it. But Scotland can use this tree. It is exceptional. And I could talk all night about that, but can't do it. Thank you. And this one is, I'm leaving this opening because we can't really tell you, but it shows generations of Scots pine in one of the driest and warmest or hottest parts of Spain. And for some reason, it's recolonizing this expanse. Tell me about it. These are the sort of questions which I think the ATF should excel in. Thank you. And of course, I advertise this tree. This is one which I've scratched my head about for centuries, years and years. It's what you call the sycamore. What I prefer to call it is either the Celtic maple or what's the other one? Scots. I can't even remember the Celtic maple or the Scots plane, because this was triggered because I come from plant pathology, and in plant pathology, this tree is known for having a disease called sooty bark, which actually can some years kill it. And Alan Mitchell, the great Alan Mitchell, wrote about how the large sycamores in the UK were virtually all up north. And I thought, hang on, is this something I can use? Because there was a period in British history when the Romans could grow grapes right up past Yorkshire. So was there a time when, because of the heat regularly every year, sycamore died out and then has returned gradually to other parts of Europe and us when we cooled down again? But still, the big sycamores are up there. Phenomenal trees. And well, there you go. Look at that beautiful Celtic maple gracing our hills and dales. And today, go somewhere like Yorkshire, and it's probably the only tree now because Dutch elm disease got rid of so many of those landscape trees. Then we've had Clara, and of course we've had high winds as well all the time, plus the farming industry, which is very busy trying to get rid of most of their trees. But there you go. There you go. The Scots plane or the Celtic maple. Lovely tree. Just another one showing the limbs with all the bryophytes and God knows what all over it. It's wonderful. That's still pulling the curtains. Yeah. So Celtic maple, it is a tree, and this is the, if you like, it's a beech tree with a lot of fungi on it, and we're still trying to persuade people that in many cases the fungi and the bacteria and whatever live in harmony with the tree. And Emma's going to talk about that anyway, so I'll leave that. But I always think of a tree as a unique, dynamic, I've forgotten it, a unique, dynamic, individual support system for fungi and bacteria. This is another one just to wind you up. This is in Sweden. This is at the height in Europe of the death of Dutch elm disease and wych elm. And we found these logs. We asked the Swedes what this was all about, and they said, well, they're not native in this area, so we cut them all down. Can you believe it? This is the native, non-native paranoias. Yes, sir. And that's the one in Britain. This sent us blue, but this shows you a really phenomenal beech tree, walking beech actually. But we were shown a typical tree like this in Scotland, where they said there was a group of such trees, ancient, if you like, beech, and they were going to be cut down because they were not native. So we gave her a piece of our mind, but she walked on a couple of 100 meters and showed us Douglas trees and said proudly, these are the original Douglas which were imported from North America. So you can see the mindset that we're up against when we come to looking at our native and non-native trees. And that's just to show you one of the other myths about beech. This is down in Portugal. They have 3 months regularly temperatures up into the 30s, and this is beech growing quite normally, quite naturally. This is a whole hillside of these beech. So beware of what's been spouted out there. Yes, yeah. And this shows you a beech tree with down in the middle here a big pile, and that pile is a pile of beech mast. And this is where a beech tree is actually in Europe called a fruit tree, because anything that produces food, which either animals or man eats, is a fruit tree. And there you go. Just showing you. So anyway, this again shows you some acorns, all taken from the same ancient tree at Windsor, and showing you how many of them, or the variation in how they're germinating. And I worked out that that tree has been fertilized in this particular example by at least 5 different parent pollinators. And of course, as you know, pollen now is now seen as a religion and bears no relevance at all whatsoever. But we've got to wait for that to come out. Thank you. Again, here's another beautiful, this is in Australia, middle of Australia. We've got chatting away here to the people. The tree on the right is a beautiful elm, European elm. The one on the left is a little grove of oak, Quercus robur, and the ground was absolutely smothered with acorns. And when we were talking, the woman said so and so and so and so, and we haven't had any rain for 6 years. Not having rain in 6 years, you understand the difference between here and now. But what it's showing you is adaptation, literally. And of course, both these tree species have adapted to different seasons. The 3 seasons are different. So we're not allowing any speculation about adaptation. And it's another adaptation. This is Sequoia sempervirens, the coastal redwood. Read all the books. It will talk about how it's bathed in the warm, wet winds of the Pacific. And here we are at Windsor on a high point. And look at it. When Windsor, of course, is one of the driest areas of Britain anyway. So I think a lot of guff is out there. But I think everything should be questioned about old trees. And this one I had to put in because I'm in Scotland, or you're in Scotland. And this is a birch at Windsor. Again, one of the driest areas of Windsor, of Britain. And this was said to be our largest birch tree recorded. Unfortunately, it's died recently. Again, speculation. My favourite subject at the moment is all the tree planters, where they're talking about planting trees. Well, we planted 100 trees today. And I would go up to them and say, why didn't you plant 10 and plant them at wide spacing to get the open grown trees of the parkland savanna and all the rest of it? We don't want dense woodland. Dense woodland is lifeless. And I think all these people that are planting these hundreds of trees have obviously had Red Riding Hood read to them when they were little children in the dense dark forest, and you can see the wolf behind her. So remember that next time you plant a tree, give it space, at least 10 meters, and you will have leave trees for the future. Thank you. I've put this one in too because this is another great myth which is on at the moment, and that is that they're trying to reintroduce bison or wood buffalo, whatever you call them, to Britain. And they're all following the Biela of Asia example of putting them in dense woodland. They are not a woodland species. That's the Polish people, if you like, conning you into thinking of that, because that's where they've been pushed by man to the only areas, and they're in the woodlands in the daytime and come out to the open spaces in the evening. Bison are open grown. Bison are open plains animals, and lovely too. Let's have more. Lots going on at the moment. I'm hearing about stub ends. What about the animal that evolved to eat stub ends? Can I say any more? Look at it here. There's no cut to the branch collar, or I mean, this is real stubborn stuff, natural animal, and you can't beat nature. Thank you. This shouldn't be in here, but it's talking about when I was trying to wind up people about hollowing. This is a tree which was the crown had gone, and they were trying to leave a hollow stump in the ground, and when they winched it, they winched the tree over. The hollowing, or whatever you want to call it, it's more supple and had far more strength. And of course, my favourite, which every arborist, every tree lover should see, this got cut down because it had a lightning strike. Okay. And there you go. That's what that tree was standing on. What does it tell you? We've got our knickers in a twist over hollowing. And all the tree pullers should see this. Yeah. And my favourites, my piggies. This was the piggies when they're introduced into the rewilding at Knepp. They bulldozed that public footpath because Charlie was a responsible farmer, and he hadn't ploughed on either. He hadn't ploughed the footpath when he was both sides of the pigs was intensive agriculture with pesticides, herbicides, and what's the other one? Anyway, yep. And just to finish up a few, this is the latest from moving on, which is what the pigs were doing. So here's when they were let out. They went to this tree and look where they dug. Look where they dug. Tell me about it. This is the next big question. What do pigs telling us? Again, this is an experiment we had with a colleague of mine, Jamie Simpson, where instead of wood mulching the whole tree, we did quadrets, and just to see what would happen, and went back a couple of years later and let the pigs back in and look where the pigs were digging. What does that tell us? What can we learn? And this is more, I think, for not necessarily the professional arborist, but the people that are in the audience out there now. Go out and start looking yourself. Nature has got so much to tell us, especially in the tree world. Phenomenal amount, yep. And yeah, this is not the lecture, never mind. So this is Offa's Oak at Windsor, one of our biggest oaks, and we've taken cuttings. And the head forester there has got to his left, this right, you can see a sapling which was grafted. But in this case, I've got to thank an arborist, Murray, what's his name? Murray. The arborist that got the cuttings.
Oh, Murray Simpson.
Murray Simpson, an arborist who got cuttings from the Ponfadog oak, which blew over down in Wales and was the biggest oak they had in Welsh Wales. And he got cuttings. He gave some to Kew, gave some to Windsor, and must be somebody else. I can't remember. Anyway, the ones at Windsor grew, and we now have cuttings of the Ponfadog oak, which are now producing fruit themselves in Britain. And so this, I think, is a thing which should be pushed more and more and more, because although we are in Britain the major custodian of, if you like, the oldest trees, you know, it's a major custodian of the majority of old trees remaining in Europe, we should be pushing hard to keep these gene banks going. And there you go. So I apologise for you getting a talk which I'd forgotten all about. And if a dog can read this book, so can you. And having said that, I'd like to say thank you for the adventure I've had with tree folk for over 50 years now. And I think it's many thanks and good luck to all of you, and hope to see you again one day. Thank you.